All right, guys, we got the Phoenix 1600 wing. This is brand new, and we are going to coat it with epoxy and then use 4-ounce fiberglass mat to cover this. We scored it with 180 grit sandpaper, so hopefully the epoxy lays down pretty uniform and we can get our fiberglass on top of it. We did tape the aileron. This is just an experiment. I'm not a professional. I'm not portraying to be a professional. This is just a project that I'm working on. This is our 2 sheets of fiberglass mat that we're going to use to cover this. We're going to do the top side first.
First thing we're going to do is coat the wing. We got our polyester brush. We'll pour this on and just paint a level surface of epoxy on. And then we're going to let that, after we paint it on, we're going to let it sit for a little bit so that it kind of sets up. And then we're going to start putting our cloth on and adding more epoxy on top of that. You can see that it's leaving a very shiny surface. And we'll make sure we get all of this coated nicely. I don't think we have to worry about absorption, but just in case the foam does absorb a little bit, that's why we let it sit for a little bit. And I think we have like a half hour before this stuff cures. But that's laying down real nice after being scored. And we're just kind of pouring it on and then painting it on. And we're gonna let this sit for 5 minutes, and then we'll come back, add another coat of epoxy, and then we'll start putting our fiberglass on. All right, we let it sit for a bit. We're gonna go with our second coat. And then we're gonna lay our fiberglass mat over the top of this. I got some imperfections from I should have cleaned that out completely before we put our epoxy in, but no big deal. Go over this again. And it's very hot out, so I think this is starting to cure a little faster. It's 82 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's pretty warm. Alright, so we got a nice little layer on here. And then we're going to set our fiberglass matting on top of this. And then paint on top of that. And then we'll set another layer and paint on top of that. And then we'll let this cure. We got our matting. And we're just going to lay this down and press it out. So we got our spreader. And we're going to start spreading this, trying to get all the wrinkles out before we put our epoxy on the top. There we go. Looking really nicely here. Get all of our bubbles out. And then we will go over this with epoxy so that we can put our next layer of fiberglass on. So this is actually turning out pretty well, guys, for this being my first time doing this. I think this is turning out very well. Got all the bubbles out. And then we'll add another layer of epoxy. All right, so we got our epoxy here. We're gonna go over this fiberglass mat, and it's looking like maybe one. We may be able to get away with just using one, but we'll see. I think they always recommend to use 2, but this is looking pretty well after just having 1 on here. Painting that on. So I think we're running low on our epoxy here. So let's go ahead and get our second layer on. So here's our second layer of fiberglass, and we're gonna set that right over the top and squeegee that on there. Let's try to lay it out. And oh, we got some grass in here. Let's get the grass off of there. We may have a little grass in our build here. We are in the backyard and it is windy, but I figure it's better to do this out here than inside. Get all of our bubbles out. Man, it was looking good with just one layer, so that's really going to be good with 2 layers. And we may have to mix up another batch of epoxy here, but this is turning out really well, guys. And I watched a YouTube channel, I think it's Fish Bird or Fish Build. I'll have to link his channel, but he's a boat builder, and he's got plenty of experience using fiberglass and epoxy and all that stuff. So I watched his channel, and it basically gave me the knowledge to do this myself. We are running low on epoxy. We're gonna mix up another batch so we can get our, well, I think we may not have to mix up another batch, guys. This may be enough, because I think the top coat is supposed to be, yeah, let's get this grass off of here. The top coat is supposed to be light, so, and I do feel like this is starting to set up. Get the rest of our epoxy out of there and just spread it along evenly, man. Spread it to your tape. And then we're gonna set this out and let it harden, and we'll mix up a second batch, and we're gonna get the pieces cut, and we're gonna mix up a second batch for the other wing. I'm thinking we should probably, before it really hardens, we're gonna come out and we're gonna cut out the tape part, but we're gonna let this sit for a while. I think we should still be able to cut that off. This is my first try, guys, so don't come at me too hard. I'll get the rest of this epoxy out and paint us a level surface here. And now that looks level, we're gonna set this out to the sun, and you can see it is reflecting really well, man. That looks really well. So we're gonna let that do its thing, and we're gonna go ahead and start mixing up our second batch for the other wing here. All right, guys, we got that all coated. 2 pieces of fiberglass cloth, and we got it all epoxied on here, and you can see the sun reflecting off of it. And we're just gonna let this harden out. All right, guys, there's the finished result, and we did add glitter in there. I'm trying to see if I can get it to show up on the camera. It's a little rough still, but it is tough, guys. Watch this. You can't even you can't even bend this thing no more. It is solid. I mean, listen to it when I drop it. It is solid. I don't even think we need to do the bottom side, but I feel like we may need to go over it. Obviously some bugs made a home there, but hey, we're gonna leave that. So, all right, guys, here is our fiberglass wings, and we added glitter. My 5-year-old wanted me to add glitter to a build, so now this is gonna be all glittery and sparkly in the sky. And these are both of the Phoenix, Volantex Phoenix 16S wings, fiberglass with 4-ounce mat, 2 layers, and epoxy. I think it looks pretty good.